Hello. So I'm Stefan, and I've been interning as a junior scientist at BioBus. And I guess I'm going to tell you a little bit about what's up at BioBus. So there's two main things I do at BioBus. I co-teach various BioBus programs, and I'm also participating in a group research project. Okay, and you can go, don't worry. There's like 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, there you go. So as far as teaching, I've taught Discover and Explore programs. The way to differ is that a Discover program is sort of a one-off program where we might pop up at a school with our mobile lab and kind of get kids to discover science in a new way, like maybe ask some new questions they never asked before, but really to think about science in a way that they've never thought before. And for the Explore program, we have the same aim, but we kind of have one science topic that we explore for a longer period of time. So for example, here, we were at a middle school, and on week 1, we explored plant anatomy, pollination, and the way fruits and plants coexist together and how they work. And right here, you can see a student of mine actually identified an ovary of a plant and then dissected it to find the eggs. But then in week 2, we brought in pollinators so that they can connect the way pollinators help plants pollinate. And that's how the Explore programs work. We want to bridge 2 things together in a longer time. And it could be on the bus or in schools. And whether it's Discover or Explore, I say it's a new approach because it's sort of this way of teaching science informally. And informal is like a difficult word because it sounds like we're not teaching science correct. But what we really mean is we want to teach it in a way that doesn't make children scared of science the way it's usually in traditional settings. Oh my God. And there's like 3. Okay, so as far as research, it's a really interesting way as well. We are focused on communities, specifically community gardens. But before we went and embarked on our research projects, we wanted to understand the community we're going to be doing our research in. And we're based in the Lower East Side. So we went on multiple tours of the Lower East Side and got to know the community, some very important buildings that hold a lot of activist history. And most of all, we went and visited multiple community gardens and got to know the gardeners there and got to understand what kind of questions and concerns they had about their gardens. And then we kind of embarked on our research. My group's research is the effects of microplastics on ecosystems. What we're asking is, are there microplastics in community gardens? Secondly, how much microplastic is in these community gardens? And third, how is it affecting it? And so the way we're going about this is we've taken soil samples from 3 community gardens, as well as soil samples from sort of tree posts right outside community gardens. And ideally, community gardens are supposed to be havens for agriculture, and microplastic might affect that. So once we have our soil samples, we tested how much microplastic was in them, and we replicated the concentration of microplastics in 3 terrariums, which zooms into the ecosystem on a smaller scale. And we're using fluorescent microplastic within the ecosystems so we can track where the microplastic travels and how it affects the growth and development of worms and grass within it. But most of all, we really want to focus on effective science communication because we found so much throughout time, like science isn't communicated effectively. And so it leaves a large group of people out. And so that's why we want to focus on community gardens. So at the end of our research, we can report back to the gardeners and really help them in a real applicable way. And so I'm going to end with this slide right here that says, I always wanted to be a scientist when I grow up. And that's actually something a first grader told me during a Discover program. And it was really amazing. We were all around this compost bin and all these kids were digging away for worms. And I got down at their level and she turned to me and said, I always wanted to be a scientist when I grew up. And in that moment, I realized what I was doing not only worked, but it mattered. And I was really happy to tell her, well, today you were a scientist.